Hey everybody, it's Kevin Abbott from Barrel Amongst Brewing, checking in with another perfect pair. In this video, we're going to do something kind of fun, a little bit different. We're actually going to compare a burger from Cheffrey Eats food truck, obviously our hometown hero here, our food provider here at Barrel Amongst Brewing, and we're going to pair that with actually two different potential beers. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. This burger, I should say, is the Parm Star. This is their burger of the month. I try to do stuff on the truck that's going to be there all the time. This is a limited time burger, so if you were seeing this when this comes out and you want this, you've got to rush in and get this because it's only going to be available for a short time more. But this beer, Parm Star, if you can't understand, if it doesn't quickly ring a bell to you, this is cheese, mozzarella cheese, pecorino romano, as well as marinara sauce on top of a burger. This is kind of an Italian-inspired burger, and that marinara sauce can be difficult to pair with beers. There's a lot of people who say that beers just don't pair well with tomato sauces. I've found some really good pairings in the past, and one of my favorite pairings for that would be our Abbey Terno double. Now, doubles do really well with this because there's a perceived sweetness, a little bit of touch of sweetness from this beers that combine really well with the saltiness of the cheese that contrasts really well. It also can play in some of the more fruity components of the sauce. There's some really nice things, body-wise, that the Abbey Terno does well, or double does well with this, that I think does really work traditionally well with tomato sauces. But I've also seen a lot of people say that sours can do pretty well with tomato sauces because we have some natural acidity with the tomato sauce, and especially when you talk about a sweeter tomato sauce, which I talked with the crew on the truck, and they said there's a little bit of sugar in here, so that sweetens up that sauce a little bit. So having some acidity, obviously acidity goes well with tomato sauce because tomatoes are acidic. That can go really well and contrast some of those umami flavors, that big richness that you're going to get, the fats from the cheese. So I'm actually, because we're at Barrel Amongst, because it's a burger off the truck here, I have the luxury of having many beers available to me. And what I'm doing here is doing this with the Barrel of Funk. This is Barrel of Funk 5 that we did with Odd Breed Wild Ales. This actually has some of our double in it, and it's actually a blend of the double and some sour amber ales that were actually aged in a barrel with cherries. So there's some interesting thing going on. These are even though there's some double in this beer, they're very different beers. I'm going to see which one I think pairs better with the Parm Star, and we're going to get into it. Like I said, mozzarella cheese, pecorino romano, a really nice marinara sauce. This thing is just an absolute beast. Oh. Gotta do that. Okay, let's try it out. So, first of all, the mozzarella cheese in this thing is, as you'll see in the video, I'm sure it's being cut away to as I'm talking about it. It's like a stack of playing cards. It's a big, thick hunk of fried mozzarella cheese. Once again, big richness. You need something that's going to pair along with that, has a body to go along with something that's this rich with the fats of the burger. But I do like the way that the Abbey Terno, like I said, I have experience with it, playing with the tomato sauce, playing with that sweetness of the tomato sauce, the acidity of the tomato sauce. It's a nice pairing. It works well together. The esters, the fruit flavors of the Abbey Terno, that like light dusty cherry, the dried fruits really play well with the tomato sauce as well. And if I am going to do a tomato sauce dish like this, a very savory tomato sauce, I wouldn't do this with like linguine with like red clam sauce. I don't think this would be as good of a pairing. But a rich, umami-laden tomato sauce, I think the double does really well. But let's try it out with the sour and see what we got going there. It's interesting. The sourness in this beer may be a little much. It might be better to do something like a Flanders Red with something like this, it's a little bit softer with this acidity. It's nice because it really does cut the fats, like I suspected. It does play into some of the really nice fruity flavors of that tomato sauce. The beer that beer was aged on cherries. I'm getting that. I'm getting a more fruity flavor profile than I would if I just had the beer alone. But unfortunately, I think it dominates a little too much. It has a little too much acidity and kind of covers up some of the more subtle flavors in there. Let's try one more time. Yeah, all in all, there's some good things going on for this. It has a little bit of like a wine-like, I mean, normally we would say with a tomato sauce, a marinara sauce, big, rich, like, you know, tomato sauce and meatballs. Essentially the kind of thing we're doing here. You'd go with a red wine. You can go with a Chianti, something like that, that has a little bit of acidity to it. I think it's just a little bit too much, a little turned up, one notch too much on that. But the flavors are there, and it does have some complementary flavors that I think can be really interesting to try together. With the double though, the other thing that I forgot to mention is that you have a nice garlic aioli on the bun. The garlic that you have here, that really plays well with the phenols that come out of this beer. The double is mostly a estery beer or a fruit-forward beer. But there are phenols that are naturally produced by the yeast. That really, you think of phenols, you think of spices. Spices enhance the kind of flavor of garlic. So that actually helps that a lot as well. I think the double's a really, really good pairing here. But we hope you guys can come in while this burger's still around. Double's always on draft. You can always pick it up. If you want to go to our vintage list, you can find some vintage double, like this bottle right here, and some other beers. We have some other sours that might be a little bit softer. Maybe you can try it yourself and see what you think. But the Parm Star, limited time. Double's always here. Vintage bottle list, as we always have as well. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week on The Perfect Pair. Cheers.